Last night was an absolute unmitigated disaster and completely unacceptable on every level. And I got to tell you, and of course we'll focus on Boone pulling Fried, clearly, right? But the manager, the clutch hitting versus good pitching, the bullpen, and Aaron Judge's arm. All things that as a Yankee fan you had to be concerned about, maybe varying degrees of fear or concern for each of those four different things. But those four things had Yankee fans worried, and rightfully so. Now, here's the thing. I get it. When somebody, and we're going to get to the calls, and, Boone messed up. I got it. I'm not even mad at Boone. I'm mad at the Yankees organization. I do think, and this is just me, you guys do whatever you want, but as you're going to call us up and probably mostly destroy the manager, understand that sadly this was mapped out before they even stepped foot on the baseball field. This was to the point where, hey, if Fried is really good and he gets into the seventh and they're at this part of the batting order, then maybe we go to Williams, or if it's the lower part we go to Weaver, or if he gets ripped up early, maybe we go to Cruz in the fifth. Like, this was so pre-planned, and to me, that's what bothers me about Luke Weaver did not do his job. Awful job. But to me, it's less, and I'm not just blindly defending Boone. Please, I want to at least preemptively say that. Aaron Boone in the playoffs is okay. Like, he's not where he needs to be. Last night was on the organization that for some reason remains married to these stupid numbers more than anybody.
Yeah, but it was predictable. Like, we debated this yesterday. Okay, well, what's going to happen when you're in a tight spot? Literally, I said to you, would you leave Fried in longer? Or would you rather leave him in longer and potentially get burnt, or take him out sooner? And obviously their plan, predetermined. Boone is not absolved of this. He's the manager. So yes, it is bigger than Aaron Boone. He's the manager. He managed an awful game last night. I don't want to say that, but it's the truth. It was an awful game. We talked about the lineup yesterday. I don't care how those numbers work out. How'd the analytics work out? How'd Rosario do against a lefty? Like, you could give me, it's Garrett Crochet. Yeah, obviously. Well, that's why I'd rather go down with Jazz Chisholm as opposed to Ahmed Rosario, who is a bit player. Like, he mashes lefties. He's 6 for 9 against Crochet. How'd that work out last night? So take your data and your analytics, and you know what to do with it. I don't want to hear it. To have Ben Rice not get in that game is inexcusable last night. Inexcusable. Figure out a way. The Yankees are the ones who said Ben Rice is a good catcher. Why isn't he in the game? How'd Austin Wells do last night? Now, that's not the sole reason they lost, but that is a horribly managed game. And to me, the main issue, aside from the predetermined lineup and the matchups, which is just horse crap, I can't take it. It's not the Yankees, it's everybody. But the Yankees do it.
They do it more. Yeah, they do it more.
Well, it gets accentuated because the Yankees are the most successful of the bunch, and they're always in the postseason, and it gets magnified in the postseason. They're generally successful in the regular season. Then when push comes to shove in the postseason, and a decision like that can kill you because you're playing against a dangerous team, it kills them. This could have been seen coming 10 miles away. We knew what was going to happen. Max Fried was going to be in a spot where it's going to be like, I don't know. And Boone can make logical statements saying like, well, he didn't look as good. He was tiring a little bit. You're at the bottom of the order. Would you rather take a chance with Luke Weaver, who has sucked this year? I don't care who they're facing. And he went over. He refrained from saying the word lame. Last night, Boone did in the postgame.
They were standing on the broadcast. Yeah, they said it 3 times.
Purposely, he didn't say it because, we joke about the bowling and all that stuff. They wanted Weaver in a spot that they felt was, he could be successful.
A softer landing.
Bingo. I would, if I'm going to get killed, I'm going to get killed with my $218 million ace, even if he's tired. Like, no bleep, he's tiring. Obviously, every pitcher as they go on gets tired, whether it's Crochet in the 8th, whether it's Fried in the 6th, or 7th, doesn't matter. Every pitcher gets tired. Would you rather go down with your $218 million ace against the bottom of the order, or a reliever who has not been good this year?
No, we know the answer. There's no question. It's an easy one. And by the way, Cora ran circles around Aaron Boone last night because by extending Crochet, you kept Ben Rice nailed to the bench because you went lefty-lefty because there was nothing in between that. So by stretching him out to 117 pitches, they only had to get 4 outs for the bullpen. The Yankees had to get 8, which obviously was a massive disadvantage to the Yankees. And by the way, I got to say this too, right? So, and I, as angered as I am by last night, I'm just channeling it in a little bit of a different direction because I know that it's this collaborative thing which drives me insane. So I'm just trying to make sure I channel this properly. You know what I'm saying? But so last night, with the 117 to 102 disparity, with Crochet going 15 more pitches than Max Fried, did you understand? I don't know that everybody knows this, that during the regular season, Crochet averaged 99, this is important stuff, 99 pitches a game. 99, which is the most in baseball this past season. 99, so they let him go 18 more than he averages. Max Fried, by the way, was second in baseball, right behind Crochet, averaging 97.3, and the Yankees get the quick hook and get him out. Now, the one thing that does, and I know we're going to be loud and yell and be nuts, and that's what we do on a day like this, because there's a lot of blame to go around, a lot. But you have to. Now, you don't have to accept it, but you have to at least incorporate the 6-pitch, 6th inning that the Yankees meekly went down against Crochet, enabled him to obviously go longer, where in the top of the 4th, Fried threw 24 pitches, in the top of the 5th he threw 19, and in the top of the 6th he threw 20. Now, he kept trying, think about it, as a lefty, he kept trying to do that backdoor curveball, which was missing by a mile. Again, it's not like they didn't even let him face the lefty Durant to get the first out, which they did. And if Ben Rice is playing first base, he doesn't make that play. Although I'm with you on the Rosario stuff and Jazz. I got you. I didn't have an issue with Goldschmidt, who played well.
Well, we could get more into that.
I know. There's so many different layers here. But to me, because, and he has said this all year, Boone, when a pitcher labors in an inning, it's generally going to be the end. And we could disagree with it, but this is what they've done. And they are now a loss away from the most, I think this becoming one of the most empty seasons for the Yankees in a long time, because this particular team, as I've said last week or so, last 5 weeks, has a chance to get to and win a World Series, which is why, and I know I'm getting a little long here, my bad, but the other thing that has to be said, like, and I heard this a lot on TV last night, and on social media, the Yankees have to establish their bullpen, otherwise they're not going to win a World Series. If you don't win this series, there is no World Series. So give Luke Weaver a chance to figure it out in the divisional series or in game 2 or 3 when you're up by a couple of runs with some tightrope in case he trips, which he has a lot this year.
Look, the series is far from over. But
I
don't want to go there yet. Just in last night in isolation, there's a decision to be made, and it's a tough decision. And I'm not basing this just on the results. To me, that is foolish, because the results don't go one way. Oh, you pounce on Aaron Boone. The Yankees organization and Boone, made the decision to say, we think Max Fried is tired. They made this in the 6th inning, okay? It was predetermined. He talked to him in the dugout. I said, can you give me one more? So it was already, I'm moving on. I'm going to try to squeeze one more out of you to get the lefty Durant, and that's exactly what happened. They made the decision to take their ace out because they didn't think he had enough left to get through the bottom of the order in favor of Luke Weaver. That's something that I wouldn't have done. Now, I could have stuck with Max Fried, or they could have stuck with Max Fried, and he might have gotten hit. I would not be sitting here today saying, you got to get him out of that game going to Luke Weaver. It's not about the result. It's about, you could see this coming 10 miles away, how the Yankees have been, to me, pre-active in taking their pitchers out, especially in this case where you're talking about Fried. This is not Rodon or Heel or Schlittler. Dude, this is, if you're going to go ride with somebody, Fried's the guy to push. He didn't ask out, even if he didn't say, well, no, I want the damn ball. You push him. Let him get through, because Weaver hasn't had it. That's a game that's got to go, just like from the Red Sox perspective. That had to go from Crochet to Chapman, end of story. They had to win the game, and they did. This had to go from Fried to your most trusted bullpen arms. And by the way, like, Bednar gave it up. Okay, it happens. But the decision to go to Luke Weaver, to me, did not make sense. In real time, I'm listening to it. I was actually shocked. I was driving home listening to it. You were
shocked. See, I was disappointed. I wasn't shocked, though.
I was shocked that they're pulling Max Fried in that spot for Luke Weaver.
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because I knew that this was going to happen, because Luke Weaver hasn't been good this year. Like, from a perspective of, if you're a Red Sox or rooting for the Red Sox, I try to give you the alternate perspective, right? Mm-hmm. You wanted Fried out of that game.
Yeah, and Weaver's the guy that you wanted in the game at that point.
Bingo! You did them a favor there. Push one more inning and get to your higher leverage guys. And that was just one bad decision from not only the manager, but the Yankees organization. We went over the lineup. How do you justify getting Jazz Chisholm in that game later in the game if your whole logic is sitting him out? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Faces, and he had a little weak fly ball that Goldschmidt couldn't take up on.
That's one spot where you'd have to have Rosario up against Chapman.
Yeah.
Where that might be a favorable matchup. If your theory is, and clearly it was, we know Jazz is a better player than Rosario, okay? But if your logic is that you wanted the righty matchup with Rosario against lefties. Did Boone and the Yankees not anticipate that Chapman was going to be next? Why the hell would you double switch at that spot? That made no sense.
It was very, very sloppy. Again, the main thing is the Fried stuff, but the thing that I think's really bothered Yankee fans over the years, right, aside from maybe not being good enough, having the wrong roster, Cashman, Boone decisions, whatever, is that they don't hit great pitching. When it's time to step up and hit double in the gap against a stud closer, against an ace Cy Young type winner who's on the ropes, they just very infrequently, too infrequently get that hit. Base hit, base hit, base hit. Bases juiced. Bases juiced with nobody out. I'm sitting there saying, Yanks going to win 5-3. They're going to win this game going away. And I'll tell you, the first pitch, now, I mean, Stanton's been a rock star in the postseason.
Yeah,
it's one game. He was awful. And the center fielder was worse. Those at bats by Grisham were absolutely were non-competitive at bats. But the first pitch to Stanton, and you guys will remember this, he took a check swing on a ball that was out of the zone and he kind of fouled it off, set the whole tone for the at-bat. But the Yankees deserved to lose last night because they had a chance to win it with a clutch hit. They didn't. The manager was a mess last night, and the bullpen stunk, and here we are.
Real quick, it's the same stuff because behind Aaron Judge, the guys did not get the job done. Judge, and by the way, when Judge gets a single, like I'm not knocking him, he had a couple of singles, that's a win for the opposition. Aaron Judge singling is not a win for the Yankees. That's like a walk. It's like you're pitching around him. Okay, and in that spot, now again, you're not going to knock him because he got a couple base hits, but that if you're Cora, you'd sign for that every single time. Judge hitting a single, not wrecking the game, so be it. Let me go get the next guys. And the guys behind him didn't get it done. It was imperative last night, especially against Crochet. There were two guys in the lineup that you really trusted to do damage. Judge, Stanton. Stanton had opportunity. He did not do it. Beyond that, you look at the lineup and you say, well, Grisham, yeah, he was awful. Okay, negated against lefty. Well, he's the guy that got fat on bad pitching for the most part in the regular season. No Jazz, no Ben Rice. What would you expect? I mean, you got Caballero in there. You got Austin Wells in there at the bottom of the order. I know Volpe hit the home run, whatever. He had a good night. But look at the lineup that the Yankees put out there in game one. You cannot be surprised that they didn't score a ton of runs. Now, I would be surprised if they didn't do it tonight. It's Crochet. He's great. Probably weren't scoring a ton anyway. Yeah. But that lineup last night was not the typical Yankee lineup, and that's because they chose to sit their best guys because they thought they were bad matchups.
Well, one more thing for me, and I don't want to go too hard on Fried here because he was amazing, but I would love a little pushback. Like, no, I'm good. I don't just want Duran. I'm good. If I get him, give me another guy. Let me go batter to batter. I would have liked a little resistance from your ace there, and I know that's more of an old school thing, like David Wells would do that with Torrey. Yeah. Rodon's done that once in a while with Boone. He even told us that. But I think part of the problem where somebody like Fried, who's new, it's already so assumed and baked into the Yankees' logic and the way they do this and structure the bullpen with the data that I don't think that Fried really thought that he even really had the latitude to go and say, no, Skip, let me go. Like that human moment where you're exchanging. I don't mean that you're yelling at, you're berating your manager, but you were clearly letting him know without saying I'm better than Luke Weaver. This is my game. Give me more than Durant. If I get him out, give me more. And Fried didn't do that. You can tell. He parsed his words in the postgame. He was mad at himself. He was angered a little bit by Boone for pulling him, but I would have liked to see a little resistance from the A's. Demand to stay in there.
Ken is calling from Floral Park. Our friends at Town Fair Tire, by the way, Ken, our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Go ahead, Ken. Sorry.
Kenny.
Hey, no, that's okay, guys. Great show, and you guys took a lot of my thunder. BT, I said this in real time last night, exactly as the way I said it in the World Series when he pulled Nestor Cortez I brought in Cortez instead of bringing in Ken
against
Hill.
Freeman. Yep.
The game has a heartbeat. You have got to use your eyes and see what's going on.
No, but hold on. But let me just, he did. He did. He chose. See, this is why, this to me was not about data and analytics. Boone. No, because I think Boone chose to use his eyes and say he believes Fried was done and chose instead to trust Luke Weaver. That's where I disagree with him. I would have gone down with even a tired Fried, but his decision wasn't just based on analytics. It was based on him saying, I think Fried is done. I'd rather go with Luke Weaver in that spot.
But hold on, Kenny.
Kenny,
one second. Ken, hold on, Ken.
But the bottom line, but Fried said in the post game, he said I had more to give. And here's the thing: you got the guy you could see it's the bottom of the order. Well, that's one thing that drove me nuts. At the time, you got to go with your ace. You got to push the ace. You just have to do that. That was horrible. The second thing is what you said, Sal. You stole my thunder. How do you double switch for Jazz Chisholm, who, by the way, turned his back on the media?
We'll get to that.
What a disgrace that was. What an absolute disgrace. So he double switches him, and his reason in the post game for double switching him is the righty reliever was in, so we had to put Jazz in. You knew Chapman was already in the game. Why would you put Jazz up in his spot like that?
Just defensive replay. It was defensive. Yeah, that made no sense. And thank you for the call, Ken. Good stuff there. There's so much to break down here. Can't wait to get to it all. But I would just say before we get to the Jazz stuff, which we can do, we'll take a break and come back and get to that. I don't think, while I think the Yankees lineup was clearly data and analytics, and while I think that they clearly went over, they do this all the time. Like, this is nothing new about, hey, in this spot, who would you go to? Which lane do you like Weaver in? Clearly, and this has been a thing for a while, it's why Luke Weaver did have a little bit of success. They were using him in softer spots in that lineup. So Boone was antsy he thought that Fried was done, and figured, okay, well, I could use Weaver in this spot against the bottom of the order, and maybe it's a safer spot. That, to me, though, was not predetermined. It wasn't like, well, he threw 100 pitches, let's get him out after 6 innings. I think it was more what he had seen the entire game and thinking that he could trust Weaver in that spot against the lineup more than he could have tired Max Fried.
I think that that's part of it, but I also think that because it's so mapped out and predetermined that maybe you lean into you're already predisposed to make a move, so like almost your eyes deceive you. Now, I'm not saying that Max Fried looked incredibly fresh because as I gave you before, the back-to-back innings were fairly laborious. With one of them was 24 pitches, and that's not just a Yankee thing. Generally, when you get over 20 pitch threshold in an inning, that's where the antennas go up in terms of getting ready to pull you. But I just think of it like if it was the other way. I think if this was the 1970s and there was no analytics, then I think that because Boone would at that point 50 years ago be predisposed to letting his horse go, that he wouldn't have been fooled by. He just would have had a different read. I believe that. But listen, there was a lot at play here. Dropping Grisham, which I know a lot of people didn't like, and I was okay with it, from first to sixth. That you can't get on him for that because he had 4 strikeouts. He looked awful. Sitting Ben Rice. Now, Ben Rice not getting in the game as a pinch hitter over Wells, we can question that. But Goldschmidt had 2 knocks and made a play at first based on Duran with the flip to Fried that Ben Rice is not going to make. I can't go crazy on that.
But those are the
I'm just saying I can't go crazy on that.
But it's results based.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go crazy on that. The Caballero thing, he had a couple of good competitive at-bats. He hit 105 on the nose that was an out, and he played good defense. The real thing is Grisham, which, is Jazz. And we need to get to that coming up, because not only was the logic illogical, but you may have lost a hell of a player because he looked like he did not want to be in that clubhouse last night post-game.
Just getting started, BT and Sal on the Fan.